Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs and today we are going to be reviewing the Mezco Exclusive, Toy Fair Exclusive, whatever, John Wick figure. This figure has been the, attention of a lot of hate within the toy community. A lot of people have been bagging on it, saying it's bad, saying it wasn't what they were expecting or what we should have gotten or what we deserved. I'm going to be addressing all of those things in this review. I'm going to be breaking this figure down by the pros and the cons, and also really focusing on why the sample images and prototype images vary so differently from what we ended up getting with the figure, why it's good, why it's bad, and ultimately accuracy to the movie. So, real quick, just sort of looking at this figure and first impressions of it when I got it out of the box, blown away. The packaging is beautiful, the way the figure is packed is beautiful. I put pictures of it onto my Instagram story, and I will put it into my highlights so that you guys can see it yourself. So, yeah, first impressions, this thing is a stunner. Having all the accessories laid out, it is a stunner. And I want to lead off this review before we go into the accessories, before we talk about movie accuracy, but before we talk about pros and cons, what Mezco, might have did wrong, what they could have done better, what they did right. I want to say that this figure got so hyped. First of all, it was delayed a ton, which I believe led to people thinking that Mezco was making changes to the figure from what we saw. The original sample pictures showed single jointed elbows. They kept pushing the figure back. So I think people assumed we were going to get double jointed. We were going to get something spectacular. We were going to get something added onto the figure, and we didn't. And so with that, I want to say expectations breed disappointment. That's just the way it is. I think people overhyped it from what it was going to be, and in that way became disappointed. And I understand that there are ways that this figure might have fallen short, but I really don't think it did, in my personal opinion, and I'll break down why. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start talking about accessories. I'm not gonna, I will move everything out of the way. I'm just gonna set some of this stuff aside here. Well, I guess all this is accessories. All right, that's really about it, and I'll actually bring both heads in. Okay, so first off, I want to say that although this is marketed as the John Wick Chapter 2 figure, the, Mezco exclusive figure, I think that this could really be more accurately labeled John Wick, like an Ultimate Edition type figure. Mainly because the accessories he comes with and the guns he comes with are much more representative, and even the suit he wears is much more representative of how he shows up in John Wick 1 and John Wick 2 compared to just John Wick 2. And what I mean by that is the pistols, the pistols that he comes with, the set that fits inside the box. So we get two of these, if I remember correctly, these are H&K pistols with an attached compensator on the front. And then we also get a pair of smaller Glock pistols, as well as his knife here. I don't know the name of this knife model, but this knife as well. All of those are from the first John Wick movie. And along with that, this shotgun, which is a KSG shotgun, which is a bullpup shotgun. And I'll explain more about that later and kind of what's cool about this shotgun. But all of those come from John Wick 1. So when you break it down, we have 4 pistols, a knife, and a shotgun, as well as the chest, have majority of their screen time in John Wick 1. So I think it's fair to say that half the accessories are from John Wick 1 here, sort of making this figure more of a John Wick 1 and John Wick 2 figure, and to that, I give Mezco props. I mean, I know they advertised it like that already, but the fact that they did that is super cool, because in John Wick 2, He really only uses this pistol. And I don't remember what kind of pistol this is. I think this might also be an H&K or might also be a Glock. Not totally sure. I don't know all my gun names very well, but this gun has more of an appearance and plays more of a role in the second movie, as well as this Mossberg shotgun and this assault rifle, which whose name escapes me at the moment. But anyways, let's get into accessories and let's talk details and let's talk changes and improvements that I would make. We're going to start off with the chest first, because I think the chest is probably the most quote-unquote flawless part and the part that people have the least complaints about. So we're going to start there. The chest shelf pieces that hold the guns and the magazines are great. These indentations where the guns fit in, and I'll just do this to sample it, is awesome. There's no real way to explain it up until you're holding it in hand, but these are so perfectly measured that it feels like they have grip with them without getting the accessories stuck. I've never seen sort of casing like that before. Casing is either too loose or too tight, and this is perfect to where it sits in, you know, you can sort of flip it, you can turn it all the way upside down gently and it doesn't fall out. And yet it's super easy just to put your thumb in and just pop it out. It's so smooth. So huge props to Mezco for that. The other shelf we have holds his gold coins, and he actually has more gold coins than originally advertised. And actually, if I counted from the movie correctly, I've watched John Wick 1, I believe, like 10 times now, and I actually watched it about a week ago in preparation for this figure to come in. And I also watched John Wick 2. But if I remember correctly, he's only supposed to have like six stacks of coins total. Instead, we get a total of 12. So Mezco doubled that. Maybe that's why it took, maybe that's the product delays. They're giving us more coins. But yeah, well, once again, just like the guns, oops, these hold in very nicely, or relatively nicely. And they don't really fall out. I think these sort of fall out, but still you can see it's pretty upside down and it still holds nicely. There is some, if my camera will focus, there we go. There's some engraved detail. It's whatever, it's so tiny. Even if this was inaccurate, you wouldn't be able to tell. So we get his gold coins that he uses in every single John Wick movie. Moving forward from there, I'm going to talk about the blast effects. I saw some early reviews of people who said that their blast effects were bent. None of mine are. All the tips, all the little nubs that plug into the guns are strong and sturdy and straight. So I think there was probably just a QC issue with some of the reviews, or the reviewer specifically that I watched. I honestly don't remember him off the top of my head. I don't remember his YouTube channel name, and I apologize for that. But just now, dude, I saw your video. Very well put together. I've seen a couple reviews complain about the smokiness of the blast effects. I personally don't feel like it's an issue. I definitely understand where it comes from, as some of Mezco's other blast effects have been much brighter. I have a blade one over here. I gotta pull it out of its accessory bag, but I do have a blade one over here. Sorry, I gotta open the bag. I forgot to prep this accessory. But the blade one, compared to the John Wick one, is about the same. I think the ends, like I think the blade one here just might be a little bit more orange and a little bit brighter. The John Wick ones tend to sit a little, not a little bit more, much more yellow compared to some of the other blast effects we've received, and a little bit clearer. I feel like some of the other blast effects we've received have been a little bit more orange and a little bit more dense in color. But overall, I'm satisfied. I do know that the shots that we got from early products had it fade from sort of a dark orange to a yellow to a clear. We more get like yellow with some black over it to like a clear yellow to a clear. So I can understand some of the disappointment there. I'm fine. I'm chalking it up to gun smoke. I also want to say I'm not going to be a Mezco apologist in this review. I don't get paid for any of this. I don't even have enough subscribers to even get paid from like YouTube views So know that I'm just doing this for the joy of doing the review and really just trying to address the issues some people had. So that's the gun smoke effects. That's the chest shelves. We're going to come to the chest next. It has a very satisfying click. A very loud, satisfying click. It doesn't flick open when it's upside down. I did put the little shelves, little, case pieces inside it, and I noticed that my chest had a little bit of an issue clicking. I think, it could have been I put the shelves in wrong, but I just put them across like that, just sort of sitting like that, and then the coin one, across like that, the way it's been displayed. And I wasn't getting the click anymore. It was just sort of falling closed and just sort of flipping up and down. Obviously, when it closes flush, and so even when the box is stretched a little bit, it still sits nice and closed, which was good, which I'm fine with. But definitely noticed that I wasn't getting the click, so I assumed that the shelves were probably pushing the plastic out a little bit and just stretching it out that way. And likewise, along with that, I had the gold case pulled out fine. This one I had some difficulty with, to where I was actually a little bit afraid I was going to crack either the shelf or the chest. Thankfully, I did neither. But that was something I observed, and so something just to be a little bit wary of. For those who have bought it and are thinking about selling it, as we come to the gun accessories and the heads and the hands, I want to lead off by saying, do if you want to, but if you are doing it and if you are trying to sell it and get rid of it for the sake of inaccuracy, I beg you not to. If you are just feeling that this John Wick figure is no longer for you after seeing, the reviews or having it in hand, then it's your toy. Get rid of it. But if you feel specifically outraged or disappointed over the fact that the guns do not look the way they did in the original product shots, don't get rid of the figure. I have watched John Wick 1, I believe 10 times now, and I've watched John Wick 2 and John Wick 3 respective 5 times each. And once again, like I said, I rewatched them before this review, and these guns could not get more accurate. And I say that, not that I have a huge reputation to put on the line or whatever, but I say that 100% honestly, these guns could not get more accurate, and I'll explain why. I actually have the tin here with me, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show all the guns in here, but let me focus this real quick. As you can see, there's a lot of silver on the magazines. There's a lot of silver and extra detailing that shows up on these. The KSG, this bullpup shotgun right there, looks much darker than the rest of the guns too, that I notice. But anyways, a lot of people were looking at these guns and going, our guns are just all black. They just look like black molds of plastic. I hate them. Stuff like that. I've watched the movie. Watch it for yourself. John Wick 1 and John Wick 2, all his guns are fully blacked out. Just straight tactical. There's no silver embellishments or anything that I can find. If I'm wrong, call me out on it. I didn't see any. So, in terms of accuracy, I totally support them. We're going to come back to both of these guns right here. And both of these guns I've seen some complaints and some hate towards them. And that's largely because, first of all, they're all black. And then second of all, the pistol mags don't come out. It's a bummer. It's a real bummer. I am disappointed. After looking closer at these guns, I understand why, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I'm first going to address is the fact that they're all black and they're all molds. They're super accurate, guys. I know that people don't like that they're all black, but that's the way they are. I also saw some people complaining about the textured grips on this pistol. I saw some people on Facebook calling them melted plastic. Dude, if you've ever seen a gun with the textured grip, this is so insanely detailed at this scale. So insanely detailed. I love it, honestly. I'm super impressed that they were able to get this level of detail in. And the craziest part is if you bring your finger and you kind of feel it, it feels smooth. That's how tiny and really, really shallow this texture is, that you can't even feel it. But it's there and you can see it and it looks great. So please don't disregard these pistols or disregard these guns. Now addressing the magazines and the fact that the slide doesn't work. I have brought in a Mezco pistol from the Netflix Punisher figure. As you know, standard Mezco guns, the slide can come back and can be pushed forward, and the pistol mag can be taken out. Punisher sometimes has a little bit of the Punisher pistol has a little bit of, there we go, got it. I was going to say it has some difficulty, but I pulled it out. So there we go. So pistol mag, standard comes out, slide goes back. It is disappointing. It really is disappointing. I wish it was. But as I was looking at this gun, I realized why the John Wick guns don't have that. Look at how significantly thinner the John Wick guns are compared to the Punisher gun. And let me remind you, this is the Punisher Netflix pistol too, meaning that the Punisher Netflix figure is already on a smaller body, actually a very similar body, if not the same body as John Wick. So, with that said, this pistol looks fat compared to the John Wick one. And that's how Mezco is able to fit all the mechanics into it. I know some of you might be going, oh, it's only a couple millimeters. When you're working on this scale, and anyone who's a customizer or 3D models or anything knows what I'm talking about, those millimeters count for so much. When I think it comes down to it, Mezco gets a chance to make their own pistol versus Mezco trying to be as real-life accurate as possible. Real-life accurate as possible on a 1/12 scale means you might have to give up some things, and in this case, Mezco made the decision to give up the slide mechanism and the magazines removing on these two pistols, or these two pairs of pistols specifically, because they wanted to go for accuracy and sizing accuracy. And as disappointing as it is and frustrating as it might be, I think it's a smart decision. I like the textured grips. I like all the details inside these guns. I think it's worth it. And for display's sake, they still come with their respective magazines. And then you might be going, well, why have magazines if you can't put them in the guns? The magazines are for display purposes. John Wick can hold the magazines. He can put them in his little chest shelf. So I'm cool with it. It may be disappointing, but I'm cool with it. Having said that, for all these guns, if you don't like the fact that they're just, all blacked out and whatnot, go buy some black gray paint. It's pretty much just a super ultra dark gray. Super ultra dark gray. And it'll make up that difference for you. It will, if you dry brush it on the guns, it'll just pick out that top layer of detailing and leave more of the undercoat black. And that'll just help you pick out the details a little bit more. Obviously, it's your toy. Do what you want with them. If you want to fully repaint them and get them all with the silver decals and stuff, that's fine. If you feel too afraid to do that, if you don't feel experienced enough to do that, know that these guns are movie accurate and sleep easy. We're going to come to the knife now. The knife is a beautiful sculpt. Once again, very, very thin, very, very small. I've noticed that all the John Wick accessories feel almost scaled down from the standard Mezco, and I am chalking that up to the fact that they are going for movie accurate and sizing, improper sizing to the body. Mezco guns can sometimes run a little big for their figures, and I feel like they modeled them to be as correctly sized as possible. Now, this knife specifically only shows up in John Wick 1. In John Wick 2, he actually gets a different knife, and I wish they included that with this figure, as well as a 1911 pistol. If you've watched John Wick 2, you know that silver pistol Keanu Reeves gets from Lawrence Fishburne, and it plays a really big role in the third act of the movie. I wish they put it in. This is a John Wick 2 figure. I would expect, I would hope for John Wick 2 accessories. I like the accessories we got, and I'm very content with them. But if we're talking about movie accuracy, we should have got a silver 1911 pistol, and we should have got a different knife. With that being said, there's a little gloss bit at the end, and the knife looks great. Pretty hard plastic, though. I wouldn't bend it or put it under too much stress, because I can definitely see this thing snap in. So just be very careful with it. Coming to the gas grenades, smoke grenades, I honestly can't think of when they were used in any of the movies. I don't remember John Wick carrying these at any point or throwing them, but they are in his case and they were included. We get 4 of them total, and the main body, the canister part of the grenade, is done, oops, dropped it, they're very small, is done in a matte black, and the pin and little handle mechanism and whatnot are done in a dark gray. I think it looks good. The original promo photos showed them more in sort of a brass or copper with some gunmetal. I'm fine with the way these look. I feel like these look a little bit more tactical. And, you know, as always, the original product info definitely made them much more colorful. Okay, so we've walked past that. This is the other John Wick pistol. This is the one that debuts and shows up in John Wick 2, unlike the other pistols. Like the other pistols, though, the slide does not move, but we do get a removable pistol mag, and I love that they included the textured grips on it and the extended magazine. I think that's great. This gun does, in the movie, have some bits of gold in it, and Mezco did not skimp. They put the bits of gold in it. I don't know if the front of the barrel was supposed to have gold in it, because, you know, we see gold where the shell or the part of the round ejects. So I don't know if we're supposed to see gold in the front there, but either way, very satisfying to look at. And it is honestly a little bit refreshing to see a little bit of paint in there. So it is what it is. Coming over to his assault rifle or rifle with his, 16 times magnification and whatnot, it looks really good. Once again, textured grips on the grip itself. It looks great, super detailed. Once again, I know it's an all black. I think if you wanted to detail this more, I would detail it by spraying this gloss black first, so that all your deep crevices and stuff get some gloss black, really darkening and deepening the shadows. Then I would dry brush it with a matte black, and then I would dry brush it with the black gray, so that your surface area is no longer gloss but matte black, and then you even lighter dry brush a black gray to only pick out the highlights of it and to bring out the very topmost details. That's how I would do it. Along with this rifle, though, we do get 2 magazines, so that it fits from the movie. In the sort of like gun tasting scene, we see him only with 1 mag, but when we come to the part of the movie where he actually uses this gun in John Wick 2, he does have this sort of dual, I think it's called it's like a gorilla mag or something like that, where he has the double mag clip, and both magazines just slide up from the top. You just pop it in there, and then you can load his magazine in, once he runs out, switch it. It's great. I think it's a really cool accessory, and I'm glad they included it. It's these little things that make me very impressed with this Mezco figure, despite some of its apparent flaws. Little details like that make a world of difference to me. Coming to the Mossberg Shotgun, I find this disappointing in some regard. It's movie accurate, and I love that it's movie accurate. We get sort of the textured grip on the pump part of the shotgun. And speaking of pump, this one does not pump. I find that disappointing. I feel like this was a really good opportunity just to add a little bit of articulation in. And we definitely know Mezco can do that because we've seen them do it with other shotguns similar to this. But this one is lacking it. Speaking of lacking, I feel like this shotgun shell right here lacks some detail. You can see the red's a little bit spotty and not very sharp. The gold is very sharp though. Gold is very sharp and clean, which is great. We get some more color. But yeah, that shotgun shell is not, and that's a little disappointing. I'm definitely going to be touching that up. Coming to the other side of the shotgun, it's your standard black. Nothing new, nothing surprising at this point about that. And once again, movie accurate. I'm okay with it. A little disappointed about the articulation and some of the sloppiness of the paint. But honestly, it's whatever. He uses this shotgun for like 3 minutes or something like that in the movie, 3-4 minutes of the movie. So I'm not going to be breaking a sweat over it. It could be nicer, but it's okay. But to make up for it, we get his other shotgun, and it's the KSG shotgun. I mentioned it was bullpup earlier, which means that instead of loading from the front or from the middle like a standard, shotgun would, it loads and ejects from the back portion of the stock. And I have watched videos of the actual KSG in real life after seeing it in John Wick 1, and let me tell you, this thing is disgustingly accurate. I don't know as much about the other guns, but I do know a lot about this one. It is incredible, to the point that they even modeled the little back area with the little nub right there for where you reload the shells. And so it's really cool, actually, the way this gun works is you load in shells from the back. There's two tubes right down here, these two, socket looking things, but they hold the shotgun shells. And so I think this has a capacity of like 16 or 18 shotgun shells. And then it fires out the front barrel, obviously sort of like that middle upper. It also comes with a holographic sight that is painted with gloss black. And I might add, speaking of sights, the rifle also has gloss black in the scope. So that's great. I appreciate that level of detail. Like I mentioned earlier, this gun is actually darker, like the product imaging. This one does look just a tad darker than this one, so that's accurate. And we even got some gray here, which is, once again, we got paint, which is awesome. And talking about that, you guys have seen it already, but this one does pump, and I think that's really cool. This is a super cool shotgun, very, very unique design, and I'm glad Mezco included it, and I'm glad they even include the pump. So I dig this a ton. I might display my John Wick with this gun. I love it. Where should we go next? I will go to the dog real quick, because the dog's very simple. We have dog. Dog has no name. Dog is painted nicely. Dog looks like a dog. Dog could have maybe used some whisker detailing, and dog has no articulation. Dog looks a little sad, but that's okay, because dog is serious, and so is John Wick. His eyes have a nice gloss black to them. His collar is painted nicely. That's all that needs to be said about dog. The other accessories we get are his watch, his hands, and his head, and I know that these have been sort of a target of, or at least the hands and the head have been a target of criticism as well. So we're going to go to the thing that everyone likes, is the watch. The watch face is super detailed. It's so pretty. And I want to say that I don't think John Wick actually checks the time in the first two movies. I think the only time he actually checks time ever is in John Wick 3. Minor spoilers, when there's a countdown before everyone tries to kill him. So that's a cool little thing. I'm glad they included the watch, dabbles into John Wick 3 a little bit. That's cool. Coming to the hands. The hands are very well detailed. I know some people had some gripes about the sort of splotching and the paint, but I honestly dig it. Having it in hand, I don't see flaws. Yeah, it could be a little splotchy. There's a little bit of some plastic stuff there, but nothing that surprises me, shocks me, or disappoints me in this. The splotchiness is just sort of how Mezco paints, so I don't know why people are complaining about that. Anything that comes out of a mold is going to have a little, occasional plastic runoff, like we're seeing with that hand. Doesn't bother me much. You just get a little X-Acto knife, just quick little shave the top off of that, we're good. He comes with the ring, and it's a very bright, pretty silver, and he has that on all his left hands. I dig it a lot. I know that there was one guy who reviewed who also was mentioning the fogginess of the gun blasts, who had a little beam. I don't think it was specifically this hand. I believe it was this hand. Yeah, it was the right karate chopping one, if I remember correctly, where he had sort of like a plastic beam that ran right through the palm, like right through the center, from like the little thumb pad, I guess, into the palm. Mine does not have that. Mine also definitely has a lot less plastic lining around the edge where the mold would be seen, sort of mid-hand. You can sort of see it, but I mean, in hand and, holding it, from a distance, I don't have my, these aren't like touching my eyeballs. So I'm not looking that close, And they're not noticeable. On camera, because it's so close, you can see it. In hand, totally passes under the eye. Does not bother me one bit. The hands are great. I do have a complaint about the hands, especially the hands that are designed to hold accessories. The hands are made out of a very hard plastic. I don't know why Mezco chose to do this, and I honestly don't like them for it, because there's a number of grips that we get with these hands, and because the hands are not soft, you have to stretch the hand out like so. You have to push the fingers up and out of the way, and you kind of have to wiggle the pistol down. You know, you gotta put a little bit of elbow grease into it. And that makes me worried for the molds of both the hand and the gun in the long run if you're doing a lot of switching out. You know, obviously there's not paint to ruin, but, you know, just sort of that tension and that friction is not good for the plastic. So I'm probably going to heat up my hands, or heat up these hands, not my hands, heat up these hands, put some guns in it, and just let it sort of stretch out the fingers a little bit, just so that the guns are easier to take in and out. But that is just a little, yeah, it just rubs across that textured grip, and I don't like the feeling of that. So yeah, I wish this was made out of a softer plastic. They just chose, like, arguably the hardest plastic imaginable. Like, it feels super tense. It's got some flex to it, but not nearly the same flex as a lot of other Mezco hands. So, you know, seeing that, I know Mezco can make soft hands. You know, maybe they didn't because his fingers are so tiny, or because he has, like, a special mold with, you know, the rings on the hands or whatever. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not going to answer for Mezco on that. But definitely, definitely something I don't like. I'm not really a fan of. So I'm going to just sort of shove all these accessories to the side and off the, you know, display area, because we're going to get to the heads, and then we're going to get to the body, which might be the most controversial part of this figure outside of the heads themselves. So give me a sec while I just sort of push all this stuff to the side. All right, let's talk about the heads. The heads in the sample photos. I'm going to pull my tin back again, and let's take a little look-see at them. The jaws on this are definitely wider. He's definitely got, you know, the facial expressions are a little bit different. We see a lot more teeth in that battle-damaged head, and this head looks a lot more sort of scowly, angry eyebrows. And one thing I noticed about these heads is, first, the paint looks really flat, very unlike Mezco. And the jaws on both of these are very wide, also very unlike Mezco. I personally didn't like the original head sculpts, and I figured because it was sample photos, and apparently a lot of other people really dug those sample photo head sculpts. I don't know why, but they did. That's what they wanted. People complained about it. Let's take a look at these heads for ourselves. Let's take a look at the heads for ourselves. I love the heads. I really do. I know people were complaining about, I think it looks undeniably like Keanu Reeves. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I think it looks great. The beard is dark enough on this head. The eyebrows, originally I was afraid that the eyebrows would fade too early. I think the eyebrows look fine. Maybe they could be a little bit thicker. I'll have to watch the movie again to see. But I look at this and I go, that's John Wick, that's Keanu Reeves. You know, he doesn't have as much angry eyebrows, the expression's a little bit softer, and I like that. I don't want him to look like this crazy, tough guy who's going to beat you up, because he only looks like that when he's angry. Otherwise, he looks stern, but he doesn't look mad all the time, and I didn't want him walking around like he looked constantly like about to smash his head into like a glass window or something, you know? He's not just going to start hitting people on the street. He's not that angry. He's just stern. And this is a very stern facial expression. I think it's painted well. I'm happy with it. I'm really, really happy with it. Coming to the beat-up head, I have a couple issues with this one. I actually feel like this one looks less like Keanu, honestly. I know people were saying they like it, and it does look like Keanu. I'm not denying that. I think that it could be better. Automatically, I was doing some comparison. The beard on this head comes down a little farther than the beard on this head, which isn't a huge issue. It's not a big deal. It definitely surprises me a little bit, but definitely for sure this beard on the standard head, the normal head, is darker than the one on this head. I feel like the beard is too light. It looks strange because it's textured, so we know the hair is long, but I feel like there's too much skin tone showing up under it, so it doesn't feel thick, and it's just sort of confusing. Otherwise, it looks solid. The battle damage, little cuts and stuff looks good. I don't like that he's showing his teeth. I don't feel like Keanu ever just sort of mouth breathes like this in the movie. Not that I've seen. I feel like the hair might frame the face a little bit too much in terms of just, it feels like it comes around the face a little too tight. Like, it feels like like the haircut, like a bob. It almost feels like a bob where it just it feels really matted and really sticks down. There's just something about the direction of the hair and everything that throws me just a little bit. But, it's nothing crazy. I'm fine with displaying him like this. I think he looks good, and I think he looks accurate enough to go, that's Keanu. For both heads, however, I think a minor improvement I would do is probably paint the hair gloss and then dry brush it in black. And the gloss would give him just more of that sleek, slicked back look, sort of like when you put, pomade or something like that? Whatever the hair, it's not hair gel. I don't remember what it's called. You guys know what I'm talking about. That stuff to slick your hair back. I feel like pomade, whatever it's called. I feel like adding some gloss black and then dry brushing it with matte black over it would just sort of giving it that lower, deep down glossy look. Just so that, because he combs his hair pretty tight. It's a pretty good cut and pretty good comb. So I feel like that would help add just a little bit of movie detail to it. But I'm not complaining. I think he looks solid. So that's the head sculpt out of the way, which might have been one of the more divisive parts of him. Definitely not entirely perfect, but nothing that I can really complain too hard about. I realize that Mezco always makes, especially when they do their like angry sort of scowling faces, they always do that little peak of teeth. And I don't know if at this point it's a joke at Mezco, like we're just going to show his two front teeth or something like that, but they do that with all their figures. So at this point, I'm over it. I know it's going to happen. That's just the way it is. I don't like it, but it's Mezco. If you're going to buy it, you're probably going to get some weird teeth paint showing up on your figure. All right, that's enough blank screen. We're coming to the body now. Holy cow, no one likes it for some reason. And the people who do like it get called fake, on Facebook at least. I'm trying to stay away from Facebook, the Facebook Mezco groups. It gets a little toxic. I love them. I love seeing what people do, all the customizers and stuff. But yikes, people get a little heated sometimes. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Biggest thing, single jointed elbows. Yeah, he hits that 90 degrees. He hits a solid 90. If we pull the suit just so you can sort of see the arms a little bit more, he hits a solid 90 degrees and nothing more. I would have liked double jointed, but the more I've looked at it and the more I think about it, I think I understand why. And this is just speculation. I am not speaking for anyone at Mezco. But the reason I think they didn't do it is because the fact that his suit is 2 layers. He has a suit jacket and then he has his undershirt. The way Mezco does their double joints is sort of like all these discs that line up and all move at the same time back and forth. It's hard to explain, but that's how their joint system works. If you own a Mezco, you've seen it, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Having a double jointed in there means that it would, obviously it would go farther, but you see how much the fabric is pinching up? Now look at this. When I pull it, there is no give. It doesn't stretch, it doesn't flex. Meaning that if I pulled this elbow farther up, there would also be no stretch and flex. Meaning that you could damage the part on the suit right here where there's more tension if you tried to pull it up too far. And also you would have these 2 layers of suit getting stuck in this double joint, meaning that it would just jam the fabric up, also potentially damaging it for people who aren't careful with their figures. I think that's why they chose it, because they could have totally gone with a Gomez body mold, and they decided not to. They just straight up decided not to. Some people say it's cost. I think it's how the body interacts with the suit. I know Mezco was saying they were making sure that the suit's functionality worked with the body that they chose, And so I remember like a year ago them saying that's why they weren't going to go with the double joint, and people were still hoping for a double joint, and sure enough they didn't. I believe that's the reason why. Who knows? Who really knows? They do. God knows. That's about it. In terms of some of the other issues people were having with the suit, people have both complained about the cotton padding that is in the shoulders and the tie. Let's talk about both of those. The cotton padding in the shoulders, yeah, it's a little wonky. It makes the shoulder stand out like that if you pull it directly up. I don't know why John Wick is ever just going to be T-posing like that. So I don't think that's something you have to worry about ever. When his shoulders are down, it gives him a very nice squared shoulder look. When you sort of pose him like he's just standing or walking very sternly, it looks really good. And I understand why they did that. This body does not have broad shoulders. I think if anything, what they could have done is molded the shoulders on this body with a little bit more bulk, and maybe that would have sort of removed the need for padding. But when push comes to shove, I'm satisfied with it. The look is good. Let's put a head, let's peg a head on and let's stand him back a little bit. He looks really, really nice. And so I'm fine with the cotton padding. I wish that there was a way that maybe they could have done without it, because definitely it makes the shoulders stick up a little weird and such. But I don't, maybe for those people doing toy photography, maybe it might bother them a little bit. But for most of us, we're adult collectors or we're older collectors, no 10-year-old's going to be picking this up. This is going to be on display on my shelf, and so I care about how it looks displayed, and it looks dope displayed. So I'm good with that. The next issue people had was the tie. Yeah, I agree with you. The tie's not great. It looks very thick. When I got it, the tie actually sits outside of the collar. And here, I'll just show you guys. I'll just do it for you guys. The tie came displayed sort of sitting outside the collar like that. It sat like that, which is weird. If anyone's worn a tie or a button-down shirt, you know that you don't leave your tie outside your collar. It's supposed to be inside the collar. The tie itself is on a little elastic strap, a little string that you can see right there. So you just sort of pull it out and you just sort of tuck it under the collar, straighten out as best you can. Then you got that. It looks a little better. If you still really don't like the way the tie is, I have an option for you. Obviously, this is going to take a little bit of modding, but if you want it, do it. Get a tie from any Marvel Legends suited figure. It's a nice slim tie, and it proportionally it fits perfectly. Cut this tie off, cut it out, cut that string, pull the tie out. This tie just sits inside the vest. It's not attached to anything, so you can just pull it out of the vest. Take this tie then, and then slide it down into it. If you want to, get a little dab of super glue it to the shirt, or paint it black first, then slide it in, super glue it to the shirt, and this tie will look solid. I think it'll look really good on the figure if you do it like that. That's an option for you if you don't like the tie he comes with. If you're really, really bugged about it, I think that model work. The top of this tie might be a little small, but I don't foresee it being too much of an issue. Obviously, I haven't done it myself. That's just speculation on my end, but I think it'll work fine. The rest of the suit is solid. This thing is, I'm going to give Mezco some credit because I feel like people have been complaining about it a lot. This thing is tailored so well. He's got like the satin inside of the coat. I know that when you take the coat off, you can see some of the cotton that sits up there. It doesn't bother me much. His undershirt is done really well. I will say, however, that, you hear that? I'm going to bring it up to my mic. You hear that creaking sound? That creaking sound is his undershirt. It's that blue undershirt. It's made out of a really strange material, and so when you move it and when it gets tension, it creaks. I can't explain it. I don't know why. That's the way it is. It's strange, but it looks like a suit shirt. It looks like a really sophisticated suit shirt. So once again, I can't complain much. It's on display. It is a little strange, though, why it is that way. The belt looks good. Belt looks like a real belt. Has a really nice high gloss on it. Solid. Vest's got buttons on it. It's little rubber pieces stuck on. Looks like real buttons, though. We got all, where the strings would be showing up and stuff. Looks great. I'm down. The pants are great. I will say, however, these pants are creased like an actual suit. So, sort of maybe like a word of caution, maybe, or precaution for people who are displaying this in sort of like a bent knee pose for a long time. You might work out some of those suit creases. So just sort of be wary about that, you know, for the sake of preserving your figure to look like he's in a real slim, slick business suit. Maybe just sort of be careful of those creases and displaying him in action poses for too long, because you might pull the crease out. He's got his suit shoes. They look good, very detailed, very, very nice. He has incredible ankle pivot and rock, and I'll get to the rest of the articulation of the figure, but the ankles are super good. I think the glass on the boots or on the suit shoes could be a little higher, and I might do a gloss varnish on it just to sort of raise the glossiness of the shoes, but it's good. Now coming back to the articulation of the figure, because I know some people were complaining about that. Besides the 90-degree elbows, which are whatever, he gets a pretty solid swivel. It doesn't swivel as much as I would like it to be, and that's mainly just because the shirt is a little bit tight on him. He gets that much out. He gets us forward pretty far. You can hear the creak, but you can get him to pretty much put his hand straight out. So that's really good for gun posing and such. He's got good ab crunch. He leans pretty far, you know, not pretty far, you know, he's not bending in half, but from straight to that, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. He has a lower abdominal crunch and an upper, like, chest, torso abdominal crunch. And then going backwards, he gets a good backwards too. He actually goes backwards more than goes forwards. So I'm satisfied with that. You know, even with the suit on, he got some nice articulation. The articulation in that center is a little bit tight, so you're gonna have to put a little oomph into it, a little muscle into it. But it's nothing you can't do, and you really shouldn't have to worry about snapping the figure. I doubt anything will happen. If you're really worried about it, probably get like a hairdryer and just do like 10 seconds on the body, and that'll just sort of warm up the joints and soften the plastic a little bit. His legs kick out nicely. He does okay-ish splits. I would say for the sake of the suit pants, don't test it. It's not very flexible material. It doesn't have much give, so don't really put that to the test. He's got double jointed knees that kick up all the way. The suit pants don't restrict that in any way. This was a long video, looking at 47 minutes right now or so, 48 minutes, and I'm happy with this guy. I'll be honest, I'm pretty satisfied with this guy. I think he's missing a couple accessories that would make the figure more whole and more complete, but what he has is good. What he comes with is really solid. I think, you know, I think there are little things. There are very minor things that could have been done better, but when you look at it as a whole, it's not really a bad figure, and it's not really worth the hate that it's been receiving. One thing I realized I didn't talk about was that the chest has these racks at the bottom that you can put his bigger guns. This shotgun has a little bit of an issue if you go straight down, but if you just angle it to the side a little bit, it goes in really nicely. His shotgun sits in there fine. The rifle, without magazines in it, also goes in just fine. So you get some storage there. That's not movie accurate. He never stores any bigger guns inside the chest, but it's a nice addition that Mezco made, and I can appreciate it. Now we've covered everything. And yeah, it's a solid figure. If I were to give it a number, considering everything, I think that I'd put it at about an 8. I think it's a solid 8. If you walk into this figure blind, if you weren't coming in with the hope of like over nearly a year, if not over a year of waiting, if you didn't come in with all that and you were just like, I want a solid John Wick figure, this is a solid John Wick figure and you won't be disappointed. I think this is a great entry. I think it is a perfect Mezco exclusive. It hits all the check marks for me for what a John Wick figure should be and should look like. I wish the hands were a bit softer so that the guns don't feel like they're straining the plastic on the hands. I wish the box might not be so tight and not be so you know, form-fitting to the little trays or shelves. Other than that, I really don't have anything to complain about. I look at him and I go, that's John Wick. You know, that's Keanu Reeves' likeness. It's solid. I'm happy with it. So, with that, I think that concludes the review. Thank you all for watching. I know this is a really long video, but I wanted to make it and just sort of give my thoughts and give my analysis because I know some people personally who have been on the fence. I've been seeing a lot of hate on Facebook, and so I felt like this is something that the community should see, would like to see. So yeah, thank you all for watching if you've made it this far. If you want to, subscribe to the channel. You don't have to, but I appreciate it. I appreciate any support you guys give. If you know anyone who would benefit from this video, please share it. I'll take any support I can get. I don't make money off of this, but I think it's cool just to watch the little subscriber count number go up. If you want to see me do more of my work, if you've seen my other toy reviews and you want to see, you know, get more sort of like daily updates on what I'm doing, follow me on Instagram at Tosh_customs. I put my Instagram name in the description of every video, and there is a link on my YouTube About page. You should be able to search me on Instagram if you have the app, but for any reason, you can find it on my YouTube channel as well. And that's that. So once again, thank you all for watching the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.